Welcome.
This is it sounds. Let's get serious.
Fucking meditate. Get in on that. Get in on the meditation.
Just let me.
Okay.
Okay, go.
Okay. All right. Welcome as Don Finley and
Melissa Romero.
sit to talk about spirituality and why does it have to be so difficult.
So
Come join us in a conversation about how to simplify our spiritual exploration.
I like that.
Cool.
I like it.
All right. We can run with it.
We
We can go
we
with
can
it.
do that one.
All right. So where do we want to go now?
We're going to talk about meditation today.
Okay.
All right. So, because we didn't talk about this before because I'm super interested to hear your take on meditation. So, what is meditation to you?
Observation. So it's literally just like looking at what the mind is doing, what the body is doing, what the soul is doing, and kind of just like sitting there with curiosity.
Mhm.
And so like when that comes about, it's just one of those spaces for me that like meditation is that space that we create to explore those areas.
Mhm.
How about yourself?
So what I think is, well, I think the purpose of meditation, because I describe meditation as its purpose. So for
Okay.
me, the purpose of meditation is to allow yourself to separate yourself from your thoughts. So in the process of meditation, what happens is as you start practicing, and when I teach people about meditation, mostly it's about practicing. How do I focus on my breath? How do I separate myself from my thoughts? How do I see my thoughts pass by as though it were a ticker tape
Yeah.
in the stock market, right? How do I see them pass by? Also, while having compassion for myself and realizing sometimes, because sometimes do get wrapped up in our thoughts, right? And so, also while having compassion for yourself, when you do get wrapped up and realizing, oh, I'm in my thought, let me go back to my breath. And then you breathe. And so, what I feel happens is that once you practice that enough, you can do that in real life. So instead of being reactive or letting your thoughts guide you, what happens is you start to separate yourself from your thoughts and you start to see yourself in action. Or like, let's say someone curses you out. You're walking your dog without a leash. As I do. And get caught on the middle of the street,
Okay.
right? You could freak out. You could be like, oh my God, F you damn. Or you can stop. You can watch, right? And observe, like you said, observation. And observe as all that shit bubbles up and you want to punch this person in the face, but you get to sit and be the observer. And you watch that come up because you know that's not the right thing to do. I shouldn't punch her in the face for calling me a cunt, right? So I observe. And I think the reason why I have the ability, not that I've mastered it by no means, but the reason why I have the ability to be able to stop, observe, instead of react, and then respond at some point, which, by the way, my response to her was, you should meditate. It's hilarious. That's what we're talking about.
She's been like, catch our podcast. Con 1 and Con 2.
And so, because of meditation, I feel like I've been able to separate it. I've been able to separate myself from that,
Okay.
and I think to me, that's the goal of meditation. The goal is to practice enough so that you can watch and be able to be the observer and watch your thoughts come by. And the more you practice meditation and the more you do meditation, the more you're able to do that in real life circumstances. There's what's his name? Rolf something. He talks about we should practice in the light so that we're able to do it in the darkness. So meditation, the more you practice it, even when you're not going through shit, the more you practice it, the easier it is to like actually put it into practice in real life situations. I think that's the goal. But what do you think the goal of meditation is?
I think I tend to like there's different kinds of meditations that I end up doing. And so I tend to have like a certain meditation that I'll end up doing for different goals.
Yeah.
Right. I think it does come back to that wheel of consciousness, right? Like the mind, the body, the heart, and the soul.
Exactly.
And like how do I want to explore those areas? But I love what you said around, it is about creating that distance, that separation between the action, the event and then your reaction, and then so you could have a response in that.
Exactly. Instead of more feedback,
Exactly.
instead of reaction. Yeah. And like you said, there are different, like there's meditations you do to manifest something, which we'll talk about manifestations some
Yeah.
other time. Or meditations you do to vision for things or visualize, or, you know, there's different types of meditations. I'm just talking about the basic, like breathing, focusing on your breath, you know, and being the observer.
And I think that's where it really starts, right? As soon as you can like count the breath, watch the breath, you know, see the thoughts, like you said, coming across the ticker tape. And I really like the analogy of like what you're looking to do with those thoughts is just treat them like you're sitting on a hill watching a car go by.
Mm-hmm.
And then like literally the effort that you take in order to, you know, let go of the thought is a feather duster on a piece of glass. And like
Yeah.
that gentleness
Yeah.
to it. And that just that care kind of like helps to create that observational distance of it. And like we all get tied up in our thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
right? And like you kind of sit there and some days are easy, some days are terribly difficult.
Yes.
But like, yeah, it just kind of it comes about that sensation of being able to sit there. And I've noticed that same concept that you're talking about as far as like, you know, noticing the reaction that I would have had and then the response and being able to like jump in there has been incredibly helpful for just my own inner peace.
Exactly. Exactly. And then you're able to navigate life's difficult situation a lot easier. And again, I'll remind you that I don't feel like either of us have mastered that art of navigating
So
all of life situations. But the thing is, the goal is to just see yourself and continue to improve and watch. And I always tell my clients, I always, I guess we're just gonna have to let them be a part of
yeah,
this.
they're just part of
So the
this.
dogs are a part of this podcast. So I always tell my clients, like, the goal isn't to be the best. Like, there isn't a destination that we're trying to achieve, right? The goal is to be better than you were yesterday. So if you can look back and say, oh shit, yesterday I was only meditating for 2 minutes, or yesterday, if this person would have done that, I would have flipped the fuck out. And today I stopped myself and I took a breath and I paused and I did the sacred pause before I even responded. So like, just the point I think is that you do this practice so that you're able to really take those sacred pauses, be able to stop and realize like, oh shit, these are my thoughts. My thoughts are like, wow, what a bitch. I can't believe she called me a cunt. And then you get to watch and my thoughts are like, you should punch her in the face, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what your thoughts are saying. But you can step back from it and be like, well, I'm not going to punch her in the face. But that's what my thoughts are saying. That's my fight, flight. That's definitely fight all day. I'm definitely fight all day. That's fine. But that's my fight, flight or freeze.
Yeah.
And my mind goes straight into like, all right, we'll fight. And then but to be able to watch that and not, because back in the day, I would have been like, bitch,
Like, I'm gonna fuck a bitch up.
I'm gonna fuck a bitch up. But to be able to stop and watch that. So this is what I love about meditation. But then you were talking about some of the challenges. I feel like you were walking into like some of the challenges of what.
I think like yeah, so let's dive into the challenges because one of the things that I've been looking at myself is like what is my goal for meditation now?
Mhm.
And what I'm looking for is how do I actually move my meditation from sitting on a pillow
Mhm.
to like walking meditation, right? Like so once it's not just a break in life, it is life,
Mhm.
right? And like that observation and continuing that on through that path after like you get up. And so it's sometimes as simple as like when I'm walking the dogs to be, you know, actively just like focusing on my breath to stay in that frame of mind, or as I'm going through the day, observing
Mhm.
what's happening and trying to continually to widen that road of essentially like that neutrality that you have when you're in that observational state.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm just writing it down because it made me think. I was like, well, I have to talk about that. But it basically that I think walking meditations are all about, and all kind of movement meditations are all about just being present. And I love how you said it's not taking a break from life; it's actually doing life in that state of meditation. And the monks, like they talk about, the Buddhist monks talk about meditation while doing dishes, meditation while drinking tea, meditation while walking, and so everything is about, am I present with this very moment instead of thinking about the past, I'm thinking about the future. Like, am I right here, right now?
Yeah.
And it's because it is kind of hard to like focus on your breath. But like, am I really feeling the skill of doing dishes, or am I really feeling my feet touching the ground as I take every step? Am I present with every sensation, every movement, every whatever? And I love that. I like to, yeah. I don't do that.
Do you ever do that? Okay, so this was my realization that I needed
I've
to
done it
say.
at retreat, but I don't ever do it
Yeah,
in real life.
is I'd be sitting on the cushion, I'd be meditating, zen as fuck, right? Like just being like all in it, and then immediately like the buzzer goes, the chime, really,
Yeah.
it's like all right, 15 minutes is done, a half an hour, whatever, and I would see this immediate like switch of being like, yep, that's it, on
Back
to
to
the
work.
next one. The fuck did I just leave there?
Dude, oh my God. I never even thought about that. That's me.
Yeah,
This and like I'm meditating every morning. And when I'm there, I'm there. Like I
exactly.
am literally like in. Like I
Yeah.
mean, I have my moments, of course, where I'm like, but when I'm in and then I'm done meditating, and as soon as it's done, I'm like, all right, let me get ready for work and let me think about life. Let me think about the future or the past, whatever the fuck it is.
I had a coach and he said something to me once that was like, it hit me really heavy. The mind, it can be in the future, it can be in the past, it can be anywhere.
Mhm.
He goes, but the body is the only thing that's in the present.
Mm,
And he goes, so checking in with the body kind of brings you to this moment. And I was like, oh,
mhm.
okay. That kind of like that rides the wave of being like, all right, if I'm
Like
watching
that.
the body, then I'm also looking at like what's happening, like when we're having a conversation, am I open or am I
Mhm.
closing up? Like, and it's just subtle, but it's a different observation.
I like that.
Kind of go, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And then there's other things, like I have an app,
Okay.
and there's an app that every hour on the hour, it reminds me to be present. So it's called the B app, if you guys are interested. And every hour on the hour, it goes off and it does this song, ding, and and every time I hear the song, it's like Pavlov, like the dog. Every time I hear the song, I'm like, oh, take a breath. And I come back to myself because it's almost difficult. So back to the challenges of meditation, it's almost impossible, especially in the beginning of your spiritual journey, or even where we're at right now. I mean, we've been in this for quite some time now. It's almost impossible to constantly be in a state of meditation in the middle of a city where we both live, doing life, right? Running businesses, or working or being around people. I think the biggest challenge that I feel happens for people, it's not so much about doing it on a day-to-day basis or doing it on a moment basis. I think the real challenge is we always bring shame into everything. So when we start meditating, and I know this because I just had a conversation with someone about this, because this is what happens with spirituality, guys. We say we want to be spiritual because we want to be Zen. We want to escape the matrix, right? We want to leave all that conditioning and programming behind and all this stuff. But then we come into spirituality and we shame the fuck out of ourselves in spirituality. So we're like, okay, I'm going to pick up meditation. And then you're meditating and you're like, I'm fucking doing this wrong. I'm such an idiot. Why am I fucking doing this wrong? I can't even fucking shut my mouth, my head up. And you're just like, well, you brought shame into meditation. I think one of the biggest challenges for people is, how do I not shame myself while meditating? And how can I get it, quote unquote, right? And is there a right or a wrong to meditation? No.
No, there really isn't. And like, you kind of, it's like every part of you that you discover is just a new part of you to love. And like that kind of,
Love that.
that's that's the challenge. And there's also like the loving of the person that is shaming, right? And
Yeah.
kind of being like, all right, we get it. Like, what do you need? Kind of thing. And that goes into like the other types of meditation. Like, have you ever done inner child meditation?
Yes. I've done it.
Yeah. Like, so that's like a lot of fun touching base with like those kids inside of you or those
Mhm.
parts of you that, need something or identify in a different way. Like, it's just an interesting space just to fold into.
Mhm.
Um,
I love that.
yeah.
And then understanding also, even like I love the inner child meditation because there's a little girl or a little boy or a little person in you that felt shamed, right? And has to get it right. and feels like they have to beat themselves up when they can't get something right. We
Yeah.
know this. But also realizing that maybe if silent meditation, you can't get yourself into a silent meditation, maybe that's not for you yet. Maybe you need more of a guided meditation in the beginning instead of just going straight for complete silence, and which is kind of challenging for me. Like I am really good with guided meditations. Silent meditations and coming back to my breath are a bit challenging for me. But it reminds me of all the noise my mind makes, and it also reminds me that I love the practice of not fucking it up and then not showing it, but like kind of like, oh, okay, I don't get it right every time.
Oh.
And I don't, not that right, because that right is the wrong word, but we'll use that word for lack of a better word. But of like, I'm not silent. I'm not in my breath. I just went into a thought. And maybe in a 10-minute silent meditation, I might literally meditate for 2 minutes. But it's okay because I did 2 minutes. And that's all that matters. Like, instead of beating myself up, like, oh, I can't even silence my mind. Why is my mind so chattered? If you find that your mind is super chattery, maybe try guided meditation for that day. Or if you find yourself falling asleep, it's okay. Like, you didn't, like, that's fine. Then maybe sit up during meditation, or maybe focus on something instead of closing your eyes. But the point is that I feel like one of the biggest challenges with meditation is that we use it as another way to shame ourselves, another way to beat ourselves up for not getting life right, or not even getting spirituality right. Like, oh, I can't even get spirituality right. Look at me, I can't meditate. You know what I mean?
I want to touch on that. We're going to tangent. But at the same time, I think meditation is one of those things. It's a practice that you end up doing. And there's some times that it just ends up being easier to do a silent meditation. And then other days it's just really difficult and like kind of go in those like ebbs and flows. And I know I'm just coming out of a phase where I really needed the guided meditation. Like, it was just something to help me drop in, and it was there. And then like there's something else that's, valuable from doing a silent meditation, like it's a different place that you can get to.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, they're just really, it's just a tool.
Mm-hmm.
We're just going to tangent. We'll have a theme and then we'll like go into, but the idea of like, what is spirituality for you?
Mm-hmm.
And like, what is that? Because like that whole idea of shaming yourself that you're not doing it right. And Oscar is all about this question.
He likes this.
Yeah. Oh,
Stop it. You're choking. You're like killing yourself to bark at cousin Vinny.
Vincenzo. Oh,
Look at
he's
Vinny.
all about harassing. Yeah. Yeah.
What? I'm just trying to be fun with.
Yeah. Come here, bud. Pat.
That there's Vincenzo,
There we go.
the coolest guy in the house.
Cool. That's it. Get close to the mic, buddy.
Tell everybody how you breathe.
Yeah. Where do you see spirituality? What is it to you?
If I could put spirituality in one word,
Okay.
One word is awareness.
All right.
Just like that is one word, and I've been saying this for years. I think spirituality is awareness. It's awareness of self, awareness of those moments or those inner children, our inner child. Awareness of those moments when we're acting from wounds. Awareness from those moments when we're acting from programs. Awareness from those moments when we're acting from our inner child or whatever it is. It's just constant awareness, and I think the most important part of that awareness is introspective. Like, it's not about awareness of, oh, Don's an asshole, or this person's a jerk. Like, it's awareness of, oh, why do I think Don's an asshole? I think Don's an asshole because I think Don's amazing. But why do I think? That's what spirituality is.
Don can be an asshole.
I know he can. I've heard.
Yeah.
I've never seen it, but I've never ever seen it, guys.
Never.
But yeah. So what is it to you? What do you
I
define it as?
I like consider it self-development.
Okay.
That's kind of like, I turn back to that because it can encapsulate what you're talking about being that internal kind of like question. And the question that I love to ask myself when I see that like somebody's an asshole or like somebody is just not meeting my expectations is like, where have I not met my own expectation? Or like, how am I showing up in those situations?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or if I don't like something you said,
Yeah.
it's like, what about me are you reflecting right now? You know what I mean? Like let's say I'm trying to think of an action that you could do. Like let's say I caught you in a lie. Well, what about me? What part of me is a liar? When do I lie? That lying is so painful to me. Every time someone triggers you, and we'll use trigger for lack of a better word, and just because it's a buzzword that people know trigger. Every time someone triggers you, it's because they're showing you some part of you that you're insecure about. Do you know what I
Oh yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah.
Like, for instance, well, we could do the lying, or we could do like cellulite, and I'm gonna get real surface level right now, guys. Not gonna be deep at all. Like, for instance, for a long time, I judged the shit out of women with cellulite. Like, I'd be like, why the fuck would she wear that with all her cellulite showing? And then there was a part of me that would like kind of applaud her, like, wow, she's so brave. Like, she's got all this cellulite and she's wearing these short shorts. But then I came to realize, and this is why I'm getting surface level because it's easier to understand. Then I came to realize that the reason why I judged people with cellulite so roughly is because I judged myself and my cellulite so roughly. And because, or harshly, I think harshly is the word. Because I judged my cellulite so harshly and because I thought it was like ugly
Mm.
on me. So because I thought it was ugly on me and because I didn't like it on me, I projected that onto everyone else. So anyone that had cellulite automatically was disgusting and gross. Does that make sense to you?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I feel like that's with everything. Like that's
Yeah.
even with like lies or behaviors. Like, why is it that you don't like it? Not that you have to like when people lie to you, but it's like, what part of you, what wound is that pushing against? You know?
You were hinting at this is like a trigger. When it triggers you, it's triggering you. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's your trigger,
Exactly.
right? That
Yeah.
has nothing to do with the other person. That's them doing something. You are having the reaction. And so like, yeah, I get you. That's where we look. We got to look inside
Look
when it
inside.
comes to those reactions that we have. And I think bringing this back to the meditation, that's the place where you go to kind of like bring that feeling up, bring that emotion to the surface, and then play with it.
Mm-hmm.
See what happens. See what thoughts come up as you're like focused on that emotion or thinking about that. And then you can understand how easily it passes or what else it's tied to. You ever played the game of like following the emotion?
No.
Okay.
That's a game?
At least the game I play.
Oh, like that's a game?
Yeah, yeah,
Who
yeah.
makes the
So
Hasbro?
that's
Follow the emotion.
follow the
Make sure
emotion.
create it
Yeah, we got a new game coming
for
out.
game night.
Launch a podcast and gameplay. We'll have follow the emotion.
Follow the emotion.
Our friends will love us.
They were like, what the fuck? We can't stand those two. I gotta
Okay.
follow the emotion.
So
again.
following the emotion,
Uh-huh.
right? And so basically, like if I'm sitting down and let's say I'm feeling anxious,
Okay.
like I'll just think about the anxiety, right? And I'll like sit and I'll like focus, and then maybe I find it sitting right here in the room or something, and then go and like go. And as soon as you like focus on it, you start to notice the thoughts that get associated with what you're focusing on, and those thoughts tend to be anxious, right? And then you're like, oh, okay, so now let's create some distance,
Uh-huh.
and then observe. And you're kind of like, all right, so here's the pattern that goes with the thought and the emotion, the
Okay.
thought, the emotion, and like, oh, it's like a feedback loop. Okay. So like if the thought is that, and like we just let the thought kind of like be, and we're like, okay with it, what happens to the emotion? And sometimes the emotion moves, right?
Okay.
Sometimes it slides, sometimes it just like disperses. So, but just be aware and follow that feeling in the body. And then when you follow the feeling, if it goes somewhere else, thoughts change. And so like it's a fun game to kind of recognize.
I like that.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be a successful game with Hasbro,
Okay.
but I
We'll go to Mattel.
We'll go to Mattel.
Yeah. Yes.
But no, so and it brings me back exactly to meditation. Because in order for you to be able to stop your reaction and actually feel the emotion or follow the emotion, you have to be able to separate yourself from your thoughts. Because if you're in your thoughts, you are the emotion.
Yeah.
Then you can't follow the emotion anywhere. You just become engulfed by this emotion. And then whatever the emotion tells you to do, you go like a little robot and do it. But when you meditate and that practice of meditation helps you separate yourself so that you're able to follow it and feel. I love that. One of the therapists that I had, I had, because I've had many therapists.
We
She
all
used to always talk to me about like, where do you feel it in your body? She would like when I would talk to her about things, and I stopped seeing her because she's just way too expensive. But I loved her. She's amazing. Anytime I was going through some type of challenge, she would make me go through it again in our session, and then she'd be like, okay, now where do you feel it in your
Mhm.
and then I would tell her, and then she's like, okay, let's breathe into that space. Let's come into that space. And what does it look like? What does it feel like? What does it smell like? It was like all the senses. When you're in a state of reaction, when you're not able to separate yourself, you're not able to sit into like all the different things. Because I have so many friends that go through and they're just like, I don't feel things in my body. That's because they haven't taken the time to separate themselves from their thoughts. They're constantly here. So they can't feel this. Like this can go to shit and they don't know what's going on
no
because they're
idea.
here all the time. But if you can start separating yourself from your thought, you can start like feeling different things in your body. Oh my God, I feel that in my solar plexus or my tummy or my sacral or, wherever I feel, or I feel it in my heart. Ooh, that really hurts. And then now when something is about to happen and you feel yourself bubbling up, you're like, "Ooh, I'm about to get upset. And now I feel it."
Exactly. You can catch it where it's happening
Mhm.
because those thoughts that are associated with those
Exactly.
feelings start to like dominate. You can be aware that that's what's going on.
Exactly.
So like, yeah, it's a really important
It's
practice. to get into.
beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm still working on that. I haven't mastered that yet.
You ever seen the movie Arrival?
No.
Okay. So
I
basically,
haven't seen it.
it's a good one.
I don't like when people ask me about movies I haven't seen. Because I'm always like, shit, now I gotta see it.
Yeah.
Now I
Man,
have to see it.
after we
Okay.
record this, you
I'm
can go
gonna
home and
go
watch
home
it.
and watch Arrival.
I'll spare you some of the details. But basically, aliens come
Mm-hmm.
and they got to figure out how to talk.
I can't see this. And they're in a room and the aliens are like a blob. It's like, yeah. She's talking with like,
They
yeah.
start out, and that's like basically when you're like working with your body and working with like the emotions that you haven't, been aware of
Mm-hmm.
before you're opening up that awareness. So you're basically talking to another alien.
True.
That's like because our body is conscious in
Yeah.
a different way than the mind is.
Yeah.
And so you got to learn the language of the body. And it doesn't happen overnight. It just happens through like, all right, is this gas or is this anger?
Exactly.
Right.
Ooh, I like
Yeah.
that. Is this gas or is this anger? But it's true. It's true. It's so funny. I had a client 2 days ago, a Reiki client, and he just had like a whole purging thing. Like he was throwing up all the night before, and he had a Reiki session with me the next day. He's like, "Oh my God, I'm so beat. I'm exhausted." And I'm doing Reiki on him. And I ask, because I always, when I feel physical, when I have a client come in that has physical issues, I ask, the guides and the angels, what is this physical manifestation of? And it was fear. And he literally was like, I ate something bad. I had food poisoning. I was like, yeah, that's what you think. But, and then when I was done with his Reiki session, I was talking to him about it, and I was like, there is a fear there. And the reason why we went so deep, because before he was cooking the food with his girlfriend, and his girlfriend and him had an argument. And then he ate the food and he got sick. And he was quickly like, well, it must be something. But it was his fear. And his fear is he has a fear of commitment. And so whenever he gets into an argument or into a fight with a woman, he's like, oh, fuck. His fight, flight, freeze comes up. And it's like, oh, fuck, I'm stuck. Like, oh, shit, now I'm stuck. And we went through this whole thing. But it was showing him his body was totally. And then he was like, oh, shit, I always have issues with like my solar plexus. I'm like, yeah, that's the fear chakra. Like literally the fear chakra. You need to work on your fear. And his fear is commitment. He has commitment issues. So it's like your body is constantly in communication with you. Louise Hay has a book called You Can Heal Yourself. And then there's another book, I forget the name. It's called Soul Speaks. I use it a lot with my Reiki clients. But it's literally like my Reiki sessions are basically what is going on with you in your physical, and me literally telling you what your body is trying to tell you. And not through like just with spirit guides and angels, but like there's literature, tons of literature that'll tell you when you have this, it's because of this. And when you have that, it's because of that.
That's been one of my favorite things to Google lately.
Oh.
It's like, oh, I got this tightness in my shoulder. Right? I was like, well, what is it? Are you speaking your truth? Okay. And I have a story. I was hanging out with a friend and we were on like a vacation together and the entire time my shoulder just was like tightening up. And I was like, and there was something I wasn't telling this friend. And like it just kept on going like and she would like massage it, trying to help out. Like nothing would release this knot.
Ooh.
And then finally I just said it. And like within 2 minutes the shoulder was like done. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Googling everything now.
Well, remember the time with your sigh in your eye? And I
Oh,
was
man.
have a sigh. It means you have anger. What was it? Suppressed anger. And you were like, fuck.
It was like it's suppressed.
That shit is so real.
It is.
It's so real.
Your body knows.
Your-
And like that's the
Your
thing.
body literally. So the book Soul Speaks, which is a great book. It's like a what's it called? It's like a low budget book. Like it's not even like made right. Like it's
Okay.
such a crappy low budget book. So freaking good. Like it's so detailed about like your body literally speaking to you. And so the way they talk about it in Soul Speaks, I don't feel like Louise Hay talks about it as much, but the way they talk about it in Soul Speaks is that your body is literally this vessel that's constantly telling you what's going on the spiritual realm. So it's communicating to you about what's going on with you here, what's going on with you there. And so your body is just telling you like, oh, your shoulder hurts. Speak your truth. Or your knee hurts. You're afraid of taking that step forward. Or you got a sign in your eye. Stop holding in your anger. Fucking express it. This is it. It worked.
It works.
All right, let's bring it back to meditation.
Exactly. I think we gotta circle the wagon. Okay. So in true form, how do we simplify this?
Yeah. I started meditating, believe it or not. Like really getting into meditation with it.
Okay.
I started with Headspace when Headspace first came out.
Oh shit.
Yes.
Same here.
No. Oh,
Yeah.
dude, we're so cool. You're so fucking cool.
That's what gets it?
Oh my God, yeah.
Okay.
No, for real. Like I started with Headspace. So I would say start with something like that actually teaches you the point of meditation, the goal of meditation, talks you through it. It costs money. When I did it, it was still free. It was like, I think it was still free. Like I think you had to pay after like the first, I forget how long, but yeah, it was almost nothing. I hear it costs a little more now, but it's so worth it. Cause and the voice takes some getting used to, but I heard now there's different voices that you can choose from. I don't know. But using an app that literally talks you through it and starts you off with like a 1-minute meditation, a 2-minute meditation, a 3, and then slowly it talks about the monkey mind and talks about all these things and literally walks you through and talks to you about how no, you're not going to get your mind quiet. But how can you come back to your breath? How can you take the focus out of your thoughts and back into your breath and bring yourself here? And so I think that's one of the things I would say to simplify. Another thing is don't beat yourself up. Nobody can silence their mind. No, but and if you're in a cave, a Tibetan monk in a cave for like 13 years, I think you might be able to silence your mind. But I don't even know because it's part of the human experience.
But I think that's what the mind does. The mind's gotta like tune into the thought, right? Like
Yep.
kind of goes. It follows the thoughts.
Mm-hmm. What would you say to simplify it?
Pretty much what you shared, right? Like start with Headspace. It's a great app, or at least it was 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And people are still using it, loving it. So I would definitely support them in that case because it gives you that, let's go for 1 minute, let's go for 2 minutes, and builds you up. Mm-hmm. It's not like throwing you in the deep end and then you're there with your thoughts having to like run through it. The other avenue that I was thinking about is like the monk or in the cave, you can get to samadhi, right? Or that like spiritual kind of like awakening through meditation. But also in those spaces, it requires that you separate yourself from this reality. And I think that part of the reason why we're here isn't to do that. Like we can go back to that place after this is all done. But for here, this is the experience. Mm-hmm. This is the living dream that we get to live. And so the meditation doesn't need to be to that point where you're like turning the mind off to go back to the heart space. It's about like creating that kind of like balance or that understanding between them two. And then also realizing that you're not your thoughts.
Yes.
Separating yourself from there can help to reduce that shame. that people end up feeling.
They're so funny today.
Oh my God.
But no,
This has been a meditative practice.
it's such a. But no, I agree. I think all the things that you said are super important. I was gonna say something else, then Vincent distracted. Oh, what never done that. But
He looks so cool. He's got, to visually give you this, he has a toy box. And the toy box is filled with his toys. He's laying in the toy box and has one paw over the end, kind of chilling, like he's in a pool going, and he has like a palm tree above him.
such a character.
character.
Oh my God. But yeah, so simplified meditation. The one thing is try it out, one of those apps. The other thing is don't beat yourself up over it.
Okay.
Just get started. Do it. Do 1 minute, do 2 minutes. Make it easy for yourself. And definitely set yourself up so that it can work out. Like, don't try to meditate when you have a bunch of kids running around in the house. That's not going to work. But like really, first thing in the morning, I meditate at like 4 a.m. because I wake up at that.
Okay.
So I meditate as soon as I wake up. Like I sometimes don't even leave my bed and go straight into meditation. Find what works for you, and then also find the type of meditation that works for you.
Yes.
Because you might not be the type that could do a silent, just focus on your breath type of meditation. You might need someone to guide you through a journey, a meditational journey, right? In the beginning, in order to keep yourself focused. You might need a mantra meditation. So you have to find out what meditation works for you. And I would suggest trying all of them.
It's kind of like dating.
Yeah.
Right?
So like dating.
You just got to try it out.
You just got to try it out.
Well, just give it a go.
Just give it a go. Just give it a go.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think we're good. I like our first.
This is good.
This is good.
Yeah.
I think
So this will be our outro then.
This is
basically congratulations.
Yeah. Good job, Don.
Good job, Alyssa. Oscar,
Oscar, you did good.
You know what? I think the award goes
To Vincenzo because of it.
You see him right now?
He is such a good.
And then Chester or Babe.
Chester is like
He's just
he's a beast today.
yeah, he's a sweetheart. All right, let's go.
That was fun.